Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the SoberFitGirl podcast. Today we're going to be talking about fitness and healthy eating. And that is something that we work hand in hand with our sobriety at SoberFitGirl. So I know as a professional yo-yo dieter, retired professional yo-yo dieter, I've noticed a lot of differences in how I look at fitness, how I look at nutrition, the results that I see because of consistency. Kat, I know that you had a different relationship with food and working out when you were drinking. So what did that look like?
I actually want to kind of start with my childhood a little bit and what I was taught around food growing up. So I grew up in a home where food was just a center of everything, not specifically food, but weight loss. My mom definitely struggled with eating disorders as well as still does. Growing up, body image was so talked about a lot. From a very young age, I struggled with eating disorders. And, again, I was told, and whenever I talk about my mom as well, I understand why she did the things she did, because she was bullied in school about her weight. And so my mom kind of put that on me. She had us weigh ourselves a lot, and that caused eating disorders. We definitely, we had very small portions growing up. So that kind of just created another reason why I drank alcohol, was because I had a lot of insecurities around my body at a young age. So when I was 26 years old, I decided to get certified in fitness and nutrition. So that also taught me a lot about food and getting fit and, body composition change, because I think it was like 95 pounds when I started my fitness journey. My goal was to gain muscle. And so at that point of my life, I was learning about fitness and nutrition, but it was from a place of extreme. So I was doing bodybuilding competitions and things like that. And I was taught at that time that you have to work out extremely hard and be in an extreme calorie deficit to, lose weight and get fit. So I would work out really hard during the week and overtrain, undereat. Then on the weekends, I would sabotage it by, consuming so much alcohol and binge eating. So my relationship, to be honest, with food has been horrible until I got fully sober. And I don't think my relationship with food and my body would be, I know that my relationship with food and my body would not be, at a healthy place unless I got fully sober. Do you feel that your healing around your relationship with food and your body was only capable until you got fully sober?
Absolutely, because I never was consistent with my healthy eating and my fitness until I got sober. Sobriety gave me the tools I needed to be consistent, because when I was consistent with my sobriety, I was able to start building consistency everywhere else. And I was somebody that wanted just quick results. If I wanted to lose 10 pounds, I wanted to lose 10 pounds as fast as possible. Right. And that's exactly why I would do these diets, these crazy diets, and yo-yo diet all the time. I would binge drink and eat all weekend, and then I would punish myself for that by working out twice a day, restricting myself completely with food, just being miserable. Like I never enjoyed working out. I never enjoyed eating healthy, because to me it was punishment. To me it was making up for all of the damage that I would do with my drinking, with my binge eating. Like I never felt good. Even when I was my skinniest, which was when I was heavy in my drinking and I was clubbing 3 to 4 times a week.
Kind of funny how we
And I hate the word skinny. Like I just hate that, because I mean my whole life as a child and then growing up, it's like hearing in the household and in school at the time, like the words skinny and fat were just thrown around like nothing, like that's why it's almost like I felt like I had to work towards being skinny. And when I was working towards being skinny, I was not being healthy. Like I didn't feel good. And now I love thinking of it as working towards being healthy and happy in my body, and just, fit in my own way, because skinny was just like a toxic word for me. And, now in sobriety, I'm able to just love my routine, create a routine that I love when it comes to fitness, and to make meals that feel good. Like I love to meal prep. I love to try new fun, healthy recipes. And that's not something that I enjoyed doing because I was hungover on Sundays. I was sleeping the day away. I was filled with shame and regret. I wasn't putting any energy into my food. And, just to go back to that time period, when I was my thinnest, it was not healthy. It was not healthy at all. My diet basically consisted of vodka cranberries and a salad here and there. I wasn't eating at all, barely, but I was just drinking a lot and partying. And when you look at photos of me from that time, it just like looks scary. Like I look kind of dead in the face. But at the time, when everybody was coming up to me and they're like, "You are tiny, you're so skinny," that was like making me feel so good, because I worked so hard to get to this place where I was considered skinny. When I was growing up, I was definitely a little bit chunkier. I wasn't eating healthy or working out. I actually didn't start working out until I graduated high school, and I joined a gym, and I started, focusing a little bit more on my weight loss, because even though when I was growing up, it was so normal for the word fat and skinny to be used at home, at school, I didn't really do anything to work towards a healthier life, because my parents were both working long hours. And when my grandma moved back, we weren't really eating home cooked meals. A lot of takeout, a lot of McDonald's, a lot of here's, $5, go get yourself some pizza, Dunkin' Donuts every single morning. Like I didn't have any healthy eating habits or working out. I never worked out. In fact, in high school, I went to this high school where we didn't even have like a proper gym. Like it was a yoga studio. We know how I feel about yoga. It's not my favorite. So like me and my friend who had like severe asthma, and she was excused, I would like find a way to just like sit with her and just not do the workout. Like I was not an active young child at all. So I was kind of teaching myself these habits after high school, but also dealing with my drinking escalating. And that's exactly where my yo-yo dieting came from. It was because I was trying to balance two different lifestyles. I loved the gym when I signed up. I loved going. I loved, working on eating healthier. I would try all the diets. I tried the keto diet, tried being vegan. I tried no carbs. Like I tried every single diet out there because I wanted a quick fix. Alcohol always gave me a quick fix, and I wanted a quick fix in my fitness and in my nutrition. So that's why I wasn't able to actually focus on building healthy habits that I like until I got sober. And I mean, I know that fitness was always a big part of your life, your career, before and after sobriety. And like you were in a lot of fitness competitions, but when you talk about your relationship with working out and meals, like I know that it's similar to mine. You didn't actually enjoy it until after. And also I know that you shared that it was like also something that a reason for you to get sober, because you weren't able to give it your all and you started noticing how that was affecting you. So can you share a little bit more about how that transition from drinking and being in fitness to sober and being in fitness went?
Well, I mean, fitness saved my life, to be completely honest. I would see these girls on Instagram and I was like, I want to be her. I want to be super fit and I want to do a bodybuilding show. And to do a bodybuilding show and to win a bodybuilding show, you can't drink as much as I was drinking. So in my, when I was training for bodybuilding, I was still drinking. I would just drink every 14 days, whereas before I would drink Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then when I started to get into fitness, I would, drink one or two, like maybe a Friday night or a Saturday night every 14 days because I had a drinking problem. So even though I was doing bodybuilding shows, I still was craving to go out and to party. So it didn't heal my drinking problem, but it definitely helped me reduce. And I definitely wanted to win the show. I'm very competitive. So I in those times though that I was only drinking every 14 days, my blackouts were so much worse because I was restrictive, and I would reward myself with alcohol. The issue with me, with my relationship with alcohol, is that every time I drank, I would binge eat really, really bad. I'm talking pizza, ranch dressing, bagels, French fries. I mean, I would ingest so much food after drinking because I drank to party and then I ate over depression and sadness and grief and shame. So then after I would have the binge eating, I would feel really bad about the binge eating. So then I would restrict. In that time, though, I was extremely fit, and that's one thing I really like to share on my platform and with the Sober Fit Girls, is that I was at my fittest in before I got fully sober, but I was so unhealthy, and my relationship with my body was really bad because even though I was super fit, I hadn't done the deeper inner work of, my relationship with food growing up, my relationship with my body growing up, that my eating disorder in that time in my bodybuilding shows got worse, to be completely honest. But then when I got sober, I created consistency and a space to heal the stuff that's underneath why I drank. Because again, underneath why I drank, I had a really messed up relationship with my body, relationship with my food. So once you get rid of alcohol, that stuff comes up to the surface, which we know, and you have to take a look at it. And I'm so grateful for sobriety because being a fitness coach and nutritionist for 10 years, I have learned that sobriety was my key to not only consistency, but healing my relationship with my body and the insecurities that I had, because it taught me that you don't have to be extreme to lose weight. Like, you and I still go out and have pizza and French fries and we enjoy ourselves, but we feel good in our bodies. And I feel, even though I'm not my leanest I've ever been, I feel the best. And we use the word feel a lot at SoberFitGirl because regardless of how we look, it's how we want to feel in our body. When you were getting sober, was there anything specific? Obviously, I know you were at SoberFitGirl, but can you share a little bit of how sobriety has healed your relationship with your with food and your body? Was there anything specifically that you did, like any like lesson at SoberFitGirl that you can share that we worked together that's like, okay, that really helped me heal my insecurities with my body so I feel good?
Definitely letting go of the shame and learning how to forgive myself for everything, because the main cause of this whole up and down cycle I was in with dieting and punishment, it all stemmed from the fact that I hated myself. I hated the decisions I was making. I hated that I was constantly disappointing myself and ruining my progress over drinking, right? So when I removed alcohol and I started doing the work underneath why I was drinking, and I opened up you know, everything underneath it, I saw that like shame and self-hatred was really, really the reason that I would punish myself. And I had such a bad relationship with working out and eating healthy. I now enjoy it so much, and it's exactly what keeps me sober, and it's exactly what keeps me happy and healthy. But at the start of my sobriety, I definitely didn't feel like that. And so when I started really, really tuning into the calls on shame, on self forgiveness, answering the prompts with that, and really, really understanding what it is about me that felt like I had to punish myself constantly with restriction, burnout, overworking myself. I was able to see that like I could never have long-term consistent results in my fitness until I got sober. Like it started making sense. I started realizing that it's really the small things that we do that matter, and it's consistency that gets us there, right? I shared at the beginning of the episode, I was never consistent with anything I did. And once I started being consistent with the sobriety, with doing the work in sobriety, because we can be sober and just not be doing any work, and then we're just constantly going to be triggered and not know why. But it was really about looking underneath the shame and all of the self-hatred I had, which then when I looked at all that, I loved the, you know, setting up your perfect day exercise that we do also, and building that routine, because up until sobriety, I never actually had a routine that I loved. Never had a morning routine because my mornings were dreadful. You know, I was either waking up physically hungover and so sick, or I was waking up and still anxious from the weekend and it's Wednesday, you know? So I never had mornings that I enjoyed. I would just push myself to go to the gym, but I didn't actually enjoy moving my body. Or when I went to the gym, for example, it was all about like getting on the treadmill and being on the treadmill for 45 minutes. And then, you know, just focusing on things that didn't feel good. I don't enjoy running that much, you know. I don't enjoy moving my body in that way. I love lifting weights. You know, I love hiking. I love high incline walking on the treadmill. And I started doing things with movement and with food that feel good to me and that I enjoy. Like, for example, my mindset when I was forcing myself to get on the treadmill and run was, this is what you need. Like, you shouldn't have done this weekend. Now you have to make up for it by running an hour on the treadmill. And even though you hate it, you have to do this. And it was like something that I dreaded. And the more I dreaded something, the more I didn't want to do it and I'd give up. So I could never be consistent with a routine like that. And in sobriety, after we look at everything underneath why we're doing what we were doing and drinking, then we can be like, okay, now it's my time to start focusing on what's going to make me happy. I have the tools now. I have the foundation. I'm not waking up and I'm not filled with anxiety. I actually have the time and energy to create a life I love and work towards that. And so that's why I now have a morning routine that is sacred to me. I wake up, I'm excited about mornings. I have a nighttime routine of just relaxing and self-care and setting myself up for some good, relaxing sleep. I get my consistent sleep in, and that's another thing. Like, I was not, even if I was sleeping after drinking for 10 hours straight, I woke up exhausted because I wasn't going into deep sleep. I wasn't getting the proper rest that you need after working out. And it's like night and day. It's night and day what my habits, what my routine looks like now, after I unpacked a lot, after I realized that like I don't have to punish myself anymore, and that I was really, really hard on myself, and it built this new sober confidence in me where I'm so much more gentle with myself. And I know you can relate to that too, because I feel like you talk a lot about how sober confidence and focusing on the small goals. I mean, that's the whole foundation of SoberFitGirl, is focusing on breaking down our goals, and how that was able to becomes something that you incorporate in your routine? Like we go out, like you said, we get the fries, we order the pizza. Was that something that you were ever doing when you were drinking?
I mean, only post drinking.
Yeah.
Only post drinking I would eat, really unhealthy food, because this is why I think it's so important to work on your relationship with alcohol and food at the same time. If you're like someone like me, I drank over socializing and reward and celebration and excitement, and then I ate over depression, sadness, pain, grief, guilt. And so underneath the food and the alcohol was an emotion. So if I'm consistently using things to cope with my emotions that are making it worse, how can you do the deeper spiritual healing? I have found that because I had so much insecurity and sadness underneath why I drank and ate, that if I'm going I had such low self-esteem. And when you get rid of alcohol, I could not imagine being sober without educating myself on fitness and nutrition, because it makes me feel good. So this is why I love having the fitness part of Sober Fit Girls, because we see so many women, when they stop drinking, they're rebuilding their self-esteem by transforming their body and feeling more confident, feeling more sexy, and feeling more excited to go out and feeling good. And from my experience, that fitness and changing my body rebuilt my self-esteem. So I could not imagine not having a routine and fitness in my life. It gives me a dopamine hit. It makes me feel good. And just like alcohol made me feel good, and food, binge eating made me feel good. Waking up, no hangover, no anxiety, no shame, because I enjoyed my weekend and I didn't do anything embarrassing. And then going into the week excited to hit my goals and have this momentum, it keeps me sober. I don't know. I just could not imagine being so. I don't think I could be sober without having a healthy routine and a healthy relationship with food, because again, I would feel really bad about binge eating, and so I would drink over. It was just this never-ending cycle of food and alcohol and food and alcohol. And like you said, with the mini goals and my favorite part of my routine is celebrating my wins at night. So when you get rid of alcohol, you want to rebuild your self-esteem, and to rebuild your self-esteem, you have to celebrate yourself. And that felt very foreign to me, to celebrate myself. But when you're at night, it's like I hit my workout, I hit my meal plan, I message the community. You're increasing your self-esteem, which is going to make you feel good. And if you're feeling good and you're hitting your goals, you don't want to sabotage it by drinking. It's so important to have that night routine of your wins and waking up in the morning and having your goals. Because if you just stop drinking and you're sitting there in your apartment, because you're either closer to a drink or farther from a drink, and I say this all the time with the Sober Fit Girls, it's if you're getting closer to a drink, it's because you're not doing your mini goals. You're not doing your wins. You're not checking in with the community, that's not, I don't want to be closer to a drink. And I know fitness and nutrition keeps me farther from a drink because I love how it makes me feel. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect with my relationship with food by any means, but the only way for me to heal my relationship with food was to stop drinking, because the drinking caused me to have, I'm talking horrific binge eating episodes. But I kind of want to switch into something that a lot of women struggle with, and myself in my sobriety, is when I got sober, because I couldn't deal with my emotions with alcohol, my binge eating actually did get worse in my first 2 years, because I didn't, again, know how to cope with my emotions. But through time, I feel when we have a client at SoberFitGirl, if they message us and check in and they say, hey, I didn't drink, but I did have some cookies, I still think that's a win in my eyes, because we'll work on your relationship with food as we go, but you have to get rid of the alcohol first, and then we can start working on your relationship with food. And giving yourself grace is so important. So how was your relationship with food? Did you have any binge eating in your first year or two that you can kind of share about? And did you beat yourself up for having that? And how did you cope with that? Obviously, I know you worked the SoberFitGirl program, but like personally, mindset-wise.
I have shared that I did and still sometimes do struggle with binge eating in my sobriety. That's because I worked in hospitality for a long time, and when I was drinking, it was just normal for stress relief to go out after we had a shift, a hard shift, and drink about all of the stress. So in my sobriety, I started noticing that after a stressful shift, I couldn't drink, and so I would order food and binge eat the food, the unhealthy food. And at first, I would beat myself up about it, and I have like this fear that because, like I said, I was a yo-yo dieter, so I would fluctuate in weight a lot. Like I would gain 10 pounds, I would lose 10 pounds, I would gain 10 pounds, and it's because I wasn't consistent and I wasn't, you know, taking care of myself in the way that I am now. So instantly in my mind, after I would binge eat, I would look in the mirror and I would be like, I'm gaining everything back. Like it's happening, because I was so used to that. I was so used to my body constantly fluctuating. And so the worst thoughts would come up for me when I started binge eating. But that's why it's so important. And we always tell the clients when they binge eat, instead of binge drinking, that is a win, because we have to handle it one habit at a time. And sobriety always has to come first. So you're already doing something huge by not drinking. I mean, I spent over 10 years dealing with stress by drinking and then eating. So I would be drinking and binge drinking and then binge eating. And now I'm not binge drinking, but that stress could still come up. And you know, if I eat the cookies, if I eat the unhealthy food that night, I know that I'm going to wake up, and even though I'm going to be, you know, have some regret and be upset, I'm not going to have that same dreadful anxiety and shame that I used to have in my drinking days, because the drinking is what put me in such a low, like a slow space when it comes to my mental health. Like I would think I would give up. That's it. Like that would be my green light to stop working out, stop trying to eat healthy, and then I would just give up on everything. Whereas now, after I would binge eat, I wouldn't wake up and just give up. I would be like, you know what? Yes, I have some regrets. I might not feel the best, but I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to get my movement in today. I'm going to get my workout in. I'm going to follow my routine, and I can follow my routine because I'm not hungover. And slowly, like getting in that rhythm and choosing to recover from binge eating in that way helped me have less and less episodes of binge eating, because I wasn't beating myself up for it. I was still being consistent the next day. I wasn't just deciding I'm not gonna do my routine the next day because I binge eat, because everything was the end of the world for me. Like when I tell you that my mindset was so bad when I was binge drinking and binge eating, like everything was the end of the world and a reason for me to give up. Whereas I removed alcohol, I didn't have that same mindset anymore. Yes, I would get disappointed in myself for binge eating, but I was reminded that I'm not drinking. That's a huge thing. I've been drinking for over a decade to deal with things. If I eat too many cookies the night before, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to gain back 10 pounds, because I would gain back 10 pounds because I just give up. And I'm not giving up anymore. I'm not giving up on myself ever again. And that has helped me work on my binge eating now. And that's why also it's so important to do one habit at a time. And when you're putting the focus on your sobriety, that becomes your foundation. And I see this all the time with clients. They come in and they're like, I can't even think about working out right now. Like, that is not something I need to work on my sobriety. And I'm like, this is great. This is a great place to be. Because if sobriety is something that you are struggling with, if you come into the program and you're like, I want to be sober forever, I want to lose 10 pounds right away, I want to be working out 6 times a week, I want to be completely eating healthy. You sound like me when I was yo-yo dieting. You know, like, that was when I would wake up after a weekend of binge drinking. That's what I was telling myself. I was setting these huge, huge goals, like a list of them. And then I would look at that list and I'd be like, no, I can't do it. And I would just give up. And it was that constant cycle. So when you come into the program and you put the focus on your sobriety and you focus on like small things, you know, getting your hot girl walk in, trying to work out 3 times a week instead of setting this goal of 6 times a week right away. You're focusing on eating what feels good and prepping healthy meals instead of just making sure that you're eating small little portions and restricting yourself to the point where you're miserable. That's realistic. That's what you're going to look at and you're going to be like, I can do this. We have to break down our goals and make them digestible, because otherwise you are just going to feel burnout. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to give up. And I mean, I did it for so long. So that was like the biggest shift I realized in how I started dealing with my binge eating. Did you have any binge eating? I know that sweets were like a big thing at the first year of
Call
sobriety.
me out.
Sorry, I mean, it's me too. So like,
Yeah.
I'm calling both of us out. We still order sweet treats.
Because my mindset around fitness and nutrition was so extreme in right before I got fully sober, when I got sober, I thought, well, for me to have that body, I have to be extreme. So I just gave up. I think this is so important, why having a mentor who understands, you know, sobriety and fitness at the same time is so important. Because when I was getting fit in my sober curious journey, my coach didn't understand alcohol, like relationship with alcohol. So she would just be like, just don't drink. And I that was really hard for me already to do. And then if I binge ate, she's like, don't eat that. And it was such an extreme coaching style that just didn't work for me. And this is why I'm obsessed with SoberFitGirl, is because when you do get rid of alcohol, like you said, you're probably more than likely going to use food like me. And having a mentor is so important to give you feedback to say, again, if let's say a client doesn't drink and they're binge eating, if she didn't have a coach and she didn't drink and then she binge ate, more than likely she's going to say, oh, well, I fucked up already, so I might as well keep binge eating. When you have a coach and a mentor who understands, we can stop them in that negative momentum and say, no, you're still moving forward. And how can we reflect? Okay, so you binge ate. What were the emotions behind that? Tell me more. Let's reflect. So they can work on their relationship with food and alcohol at the same time to get freedom and use other tools, meditation, reaching out to the community instead of the negative habits. I think that's so important that you shared the mini goals and not creating these extreme high standards for yourself that you can't reach. If someone comes to SoberFitGirl and they're drinking a bottle of wine a day and they have 5 kids and they work a full-time job, how can we say, don't drink alcohol, work out 5 times a week, hit your macros? It's just going to feel so unachievable. And so they're going to say, I can't do this, and they're going to give up and they're going to leave. So instead, let's focus on small little habits every single day. Okay, it could be reducing alcohol. It could be just hitting your protein. Like you said, we even have a client who signed up to our program and her goal was to hit 5,000 steps a day. She's lost 80 pounds now and is over 2 years sober, and she started slowly increasing her baseline when it came to fitness, that it felt achievable. I don't want to be a coach. Eva doesn't want to be a coach that's saying to a client, you have to do all of this right now today, and if you don't, you're bad. We want to help our clients feel excited, feel that their goals are achievable, because if they don't and they go to these extremes, they're not going to hit their goals. They're going to feel really bad. Then they're going to get closer to a drink. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I struggled with this so bad in my first 2 years of sobriety. I did not have a mentor like you did, or I didn't have a mentor that could help educate me that you don't have to be so extreme with your fitness and nutrition. Just give up alcohol, focus on the stuff that's underneath while you're binge eating, and it creates consistency. So it's going to be easier to hit your goals. I mean, it's so wild to me to think of how much easier it is to lose weight and to hit your fitness goals when you give up alcohol. It's just, it just doesn't have to be that hard. But I will tell you that in my first 2 years, even though I was binge eating, I was sober. And I did everything it took to be sober. And if that was, have 3 pieces of cake, I had the 3 pieces of cake. And then I got help in that area myself. And I started re-educating myself on how to train and how to eat that wasn't the extreme. And I'm so grateful because in these last 2 years, I know that you and I have worked on educating our clients from our own personal experience. And I also wanted to kind of talk to you about environment, because when my binge eating got worse is when I left Bali and I moved to Miami and I was back in the social scene, and you were in the service industry. And I think it's really important that people look at their environment and start to move things around that's going to make their relationship with food easier, people, places, things. So now I know that you are in a new relationship and a new environment. So can you kind of tell us how your environment has shifted your relationship with alcohol and your work?
Yes. So I ended up leaving my jobs in the service industry at the end of August, and I moved to a new city. I moved in with my boyfriend in September, and I spent all of September there before coming to Bali. And it has just been such an amazing shift into feeling way more regulated and just in a routine that I love. I know I shared with you a lot towards the end of my time living in New York and working the jobs that I had. I felt like I was losing myself a little bit. I hated my routine. I feel like I couldn't really feel good about working out and taking care of myself because I just feel like I was too overwhelmed, like SoberFitGirl was growing and that's where I wanted to put my energy, but I felt like I was constantly putting my energy into places that didn't really matter to me. And so this past month, I've really truly been in a routine that I love, that has allowed me to get excited about working out again, excited about meal prepping, excited about what I'm passionate about. And that has made my binge eating, I did not binge eat all of all of September.
Seen such a difference in your energy and even your skin and things like that, because the environment is so important when it comes to this.
And I know that with you too, you were living in Miami and then you came to New York because that's where your friends are and that's kind of what you needed at the time. And I think that when we're sober, we're so in tune with listening to what do we need? Do we need to slow down? Do we need to be around people that we love? Do we need a little bit more adventure? I think that we're so in tune, and I know that your life looked really different in Miami than it does in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like from my experience, I know, and I've said this 10 times on this episode, you're farther from a drink or closer to a drink. And my binge eating was just getting really excessive because I was unhappy in my environment. I missed the city. I missed being around my friends, and I was very isolated in growing SoberFitGirl. And I just said, I have to move out of this environment. I was there for 2.5 years, and I couldn't do it anymore. And I think that it's really important that if you're listening, to ask yourself, people, places, things, job, environment, how can you start to move these things around in your sobriety that's going to benefit you? Because I know it's scary to leave the job, leave the relationship, leave the city. But if you're not making these adjustments in your environment, you are closer to a drink. I mean, my binge eating, if I'm chronically binge eating, I know that there's something going on and it's bringing me closer to a drink, because food is the thing that I use and used a lot when I'm feeling sadness, lonely. And so, yeah, if you're listening, hiring a coach or working with someone who understands food and alcohol at the same time is going to create so much more momentum, and that accountability is so important, especially if you're beating yourself up and you're drinking and binge eating and drinking and binge eating. Working with someone who understands relationship with food and alcohol at the same time is going to be so beneficial. See you guys next time on the Sober Fit Girl podcast. Bye.